A very, very pleasant good evening, viewers. Greetings, and welcome to another edition of Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Terrence Baines, and we are thankful, as per usual, for another opportunity to be able to use this platform to share information with you, bring you up to speed as to what is taking place at the executive level, also what is happening in the various divisions that we have been given responsibility over. And I believe that tonight would be a show just as good as we have been having for the past few weeks as we have launched season 2 of Full Disclosure. Our theme has been, since we started, war against the THA, war against Tobago, and we've been discussing this matter extensively in using various individuals have come and have looked at different angles and so on. And last week, our theme was Tobago Fights On, and we had the Honorable Chief Secretary, had an extensive interview with him and so on, and he reminded us that a line has been drawn in the sand. Either you're with the assembly or you're with the administration, or you're just against us. And so there is no demilitarized zone, as it were. And tonight will be no different. Guesting with me tonight is the exciting, intelligent, hard-working Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, and Transport. I think I have it right.
Yes, you got
tonight.
It right.
The lady Tashia Boris, and we are so happy to have her with us. Good night, Secretary.
Good night, and good night to all of our viewers online. And it's a pleasure to be here once again.
Indeed,
it feels like if I've missed this for a bit,
Well, we are just so happy that you could be with us tonight. Yeah. And we have to start the show with an exciting memory lane bit, because as I've been advised, the date today, August 10th, marks what, 2 years, 3 years when you ran in an election for the very first time, and so on, as the candidate for Tobago West. And you've come full circle, and and I'm sure if you had a crystal ball at your house, you may not have seen where you are. Let's talk about that. Talk about that.
Around this time 3 years ago, I was already asleep because I had a very long day. I was out all day at the different polling stations, checking up on the staff, and I went and voted, and I was like that up until the close of the polls. And the only thing I could do was really go home and just take off my phones and go and sleep, because I really felt in my mind that the purpose of me getting into politics at that time was to run the best race that I could run. And I was satisfied at that point that I did so, and I had left everything else up to God. And I had already made peace with whatever the outcome was. So I knew that whatever the outcome was, somebody would call me and wake me up. Yes, so that is exactly what happened. And certainly, as you said, if I had a crystal ball and I knew what God had in store for me after that, I would not be any less thankful, because that experience really helped shape me and mold me for the current assignment and the current mission that we have. And, the mandate has never changed. 3 years ago, we mounted a platform about ensuring that Tobago is able to take up its place in a parliament that is already, from a numbers perspective, stacked against us. You're talking about 39 seats in Trinidad versus 2 seats in Tobago. And regardless of how they cut that pie in terms of 39 seats in Trinidad, once they decide down there that they're going to take a position on something, then Tobago's 2 seats largely mean nothing. It doesn't matter what Tobago wants. It doesn't matter who Tobago belongs to. They can drown us out with their numbers. And part of mounting that platform and being able to help educate Tobagonians about the fact that we have to ensure that those 2 seats never align themselves with another party without certain guarantees for Tobago, without being given certain assurances that Tobago's needs would be put on the front burner, because the reality is that we sing an anthem that says side by side we stand, but I can't remember the last time I felt as if I was walking side by side with an administration in Trinidad. I mean, personal experience in this role has convinced me more than ever that the disrespect that we are seeing now is just open and blatant, but it was very subtle. It started very subtly, the lack of respect for the offices, the lack of respect for the Tobago House of Assembly as an institution, the lack of respect for the people who crafted the legislation that created the Tobago House of Assembly. And then I think that has led to general disrespect amongst the peoples, because when you look at what is happening now, there are persons in positions in Trinidad. They are not members of central government, but they are agents of central government. And they are of the view that it's okay that they should just come in Tobago's backyard and not inform us. I mean, it's not like if we don't understand what it means to be confidential and what is required in terms of security. Because when you're talking about securing an island, and you have an entity that is responsible for doing that job, I mean, we both have the same job. An administration is concerned about the safety and security of our citizens and our visitors. And your entity is also concerned and has work to do in terms of ensuring that the citizens and the visitors are also safe. So we are supposed to have the same goal.
Right.
So that if you're going to come into my backyard and you tell me that you have an assignment to do, well, I would think that the first thing you would say is, look, I'm going to be in your backyard.
You know? Well, I mean, you're diving right in. You're diving right in.
I mean, I think what has happened in the last 3 years, we have seen an awakening in the consciousness of Tobagonians. And certainly, I thank God every day for being able to be a part of this reawakening. Because
that was my next question.
Right.
That was the next question. From then, I mean, to now, where you are today, you know, how do you reconcile that whole journey?
Well, I would tell you this. You know, when you're going up for election and nobody knows you, you kind of have to figure out how you can demonstrate to someone that you're good enough for them to take a chance on you. Without them not having the opportunity to test you before you go in office. And me being appointed, being called by the Chief Secretary to take up this appointment in this time is the opportunity for me to now demonstrate to Tobagonians what my worth is. So it's no longer about me standing on a platform and making promises or having a very good speech or hoping that people see more than just the person who's standing in front of them and decide, you know what, I'm going to give this young lady a try and see how she does. This assignment has now given me the opportunity to demonstrate to Tobagonians what I can do. And I think that in and of itself is the perfect opportunity, because if I do decide to do this again and run for Tobago West, which is a possibility, but again, it's open to anybody. But if I do decide to do it, then I can say to people, well, look, this is what I've done because I've been tested. I've gotten this opportunity. I have demonstrated what I can do and how successful I was, because you always go out with that positive mindset and everything.
Well, I think one of the things that fascinated me, I mean, I've known you for some time and working in other places and so on. And what really fascinated me was the way you were able to almost seamlessly kind of fall into the position and almost kind of hit the ground running, as if, you know, it's almost like it was like a perfect fit. You understand? And I think even as we look across the entire administration in terms of the people that are in the different portfolios and so on, it almost seems as if that these individuals had some kind of background, some kind of experience in the particular area that they were given responsibility over. And the challenge, of course, is for us to be able to do our best and stay with the mandate that we have been given. So you have come full circle. You understand?
Maybe 3/4 circle. You never know what God has in store for you. Yes?
That is true. That is true. That is so very true. And you know, this segment is we kind of look at some of the current things and so on, and the theme that we've had. That this is what has come to me over the past few months when we look at all that has been happening. Some of the things that you were just talking about. This disrespectful approach that we see practiced by ministers from central, and this regime is not the only one that is culpable.
No.
Regimes in the past, and it is as if, I have this saying that if you teach people how to treat you, after a while they will learn.
Yes,
you understand? And we heard the Prime Minister say that he sat down with his cabinet and he spoke to them and told them that there must be an amicable relationship between the ministers in Trinidad and when they come. But some of the ministers clearly didn't get the memo.
I would tell you that saying something and doing it are completely different things. And I think that if we have to judge persons by their actions, clearly some people didn't get the memo.
That's right.
But I think that more than that, there is a general lack of wanting to understand Tobago's story. Because the reality is when we talk about autonomy, it's not just about Tobagonians wanting to determine what our future is or what we want our future to look like. But Trinidadians also have to take the same opportunity to determine what do we want a Trinidad 50 years from now to look like. Because at the end of the day, if we have to stay in this relationship, we both have to understand that we would want to walk the same path, or we're heading towards the same goal. So that there has to be a very, very honest conversation that has to take place with persons from Trinidad, born in Trinidad, raised in Trinidad, and persons from Tobago, born in Tobago, raised in Tobago, to be able to come to the table and make that determination. What does Tobago want? Where does Tobago want to see itself? Where does Tobago want to go? Versus what does Trinidad want? Where do they see themselves? What are their goals and aspirations for their people? Because I am not going to leave it up to a government in Trinidad to plan my future in Tobago. You don't understand where I've come from. You don't understand what I've been through. And you haven't taken the time to even understand what I've been through, or to listen to my story, or to empathize with me. So, leave each man up to their own devices, basically. Part of being in a relationship is having that level of respect. Because certainly you do not see this administration telling a central government how to solve crime in a region.
No.
You don't see this administration trying to encroach on Trinidad's waters and try to steal their oil or try to take their gas. We don't do that. We mind our business.
We would not even conceive such a thing.
We won't even think about something like that. So we just want simply for a Trinidad government to understand that Tobago people must be the ones to determine our future. And that we must be given the space and the grace to do so.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I let me hear your thoughts on it. My sense is that the Tobago people in general, there are some who will remain with the status quo, have grown, or we are growing.
Yes.
You understand? You grow up as a child in the house. You grow up after a time. Your mannishness have to come forth. You understand what I'm saying? Being able to chart your own course and manage your own space. And while Tobago's aspirations have been anchored in law, you understand, but in terms of the manifestation, we have seen very watered down practices, and we've seen some of our officials cower under the pressure of Trinidad and the might of Trinidad. But here is an administration, some young people who all we are concerned about is that we are treated with the same level of respect.
Yes, most definitely.
That is supposed to be afforded us. We could even go so far to say by law.
By law. And I like the analogy you used about being anchored in law.
Yes.
Because the reality is that anchor has been subject to plenty turbulence in the waves of late. So that anchor is now in a sea that is very rough at this time, because that anchor, the chain on that anchor is being tested. Yes. To see how strong it is. All kinds of shocks, licensing shocks, and police shocks, and warrant shocks, and disrespect shocks, and whistleblower shocks, and all of these shocks.
It's a shocking time.
It's a shocking time. And that has created some turbulence around the anchor. But the reality is that despite all of these shocks, the anchor holds.
Yes, and that's a salient point you're making, because, I since we started this journey, none of us anticipated the different shocks and the different things that would occur. We couldn't see it.
No.
They have come even kind of broadsided us at times. And there are many people who sat in the wings and waited, you know, for the thing to collapse, and they're waiting for the last bell to toll.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? But what I have seen, and I will get your thoughts on this, is a galvanizing of the officials, a determination to move towards this goal, following a leader that we appreciate and love, a leader that is dripping with innovative ideas. You know, a man who looks to some to be very introverted and so on, and his demeanor can be mistaken. I said in the house that people think, you know, that humility is stupidity.
Yes.
But they don't understand it's power under control.
Yes, that is
you understand? True. And so here we are this time, facing all these things, but continue to be resilient, continue to do the work.
And that speaks to me, to the spirit of a Tobagonian. When you look at our history, I mean, and the most popular history that people know as a soundbite is we've been fought over 33 times.
Yes.
But I don't know how much people know that Tobago has had the second most slave uprisings on plantations after Haiti. So when you look at Haiti's history, being that country that led the way in terms of gaining their independence in the way that they did, and to know that Tobago was right behind in terms of our bucking authority and bucking the whip and bucking chains. And we were not afraid back then to demonstrate that once we've had enough, we will take people for a run. And we are getting to a place now where we are literally saying, look, we have had enough. We have given diplomacy a try. We have given accommodations a try. We have tried our best sometimes to even eat some of the disrespect and say nothing, because every time, you know, it's like being in a class and the bully hitting you, but the teacher never see when the bully hitting you. But the one time you hit back the bully, the teacher see and you get punished. So you don't want to hit back the bully because you don't want, at the point in time that you hit back, the teacher sees and punishes you. And I think one of the things that a Tobagonian is a long-suffering person. We take suffering, we take on until we've had enough. And sometimes to our own detriment, when we finally lash out after we've taken enough, it comes with such a raging, powerful force. And I wouldn't want it to get to that place. Because for me, I do not think that a conversation is beyond us at this time. I don't think it is. But I also think, to be fair, we have had representatives who have never represented our interests. So when you think they should be in the rooms where the persons who hold the seat of power, they have their ears and they could be advocating on behalf of Tobagonians, they have failed miserably in their jobs. And they find more time to mind the business of those of us here who try our best to do the work, instead of trying to help us to achieve the goal, which is to ensure that Tobago gets its fair share, whatever that fair share looks like. You understand?
I think the collective responsibility has been sacrificed at the altar of Tobago expediency. You understand? And it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate. And there are phrases and comments made about Tobago when it is convenient so to do.
Yes.
But in terms of actuality, because this matter that we have been talking about and is bothersome, and we're making noise about it and standing up against it, about how the officials are treated. You understand? As it relates to officials from Trinidad that come into the space. We understand there are some works that has to be carried out by ministries in Trinidad, but all we ask is a simple conversation. All we ask is a simple courtesy, which some of the persons, because they're not in this situation, or fought bitterly. I mean, they raised hell because it was another regime in power.
So the selectiveness in the memory is very obvious.
There's a deafening silence from past officials to intellectual assassins, as they are called, and hustlers. You understand? There's a deafening silence about that. You understand? But we have to take the conversation a little further, else we could go on, because there is so much to say about this. And when we talk about the war, we've talked about the war on the economic front. The underfunding of Tobago's ideals and Tobago's agenda and so on. and in some cases the measured funding or funding with something attached. You
There's
understand
always
what I'm
this
saying?
caveat, yes.
Yes, you understand all that. And then of course we looked at some of the other things that were taking place. We look at the issue, the just recent with the license officers coming to Tobago and so on, knowing that there is an official in Tobago under whose purview licensing falls, and you ask yourself, and they come, and then you have this arrogance with some of the officials saying that they don't have to talk to nobody here. You know the thing that bothered me?
And you know, they say it to the point where it makes you feel like they think that the THA is beneath them.
Well, exactly.
So that from the time that is your posturing,
Yes.
I don't know if you expect support.
Yes.
Because the reality is that when you look at how government is set up and you look at how the THA is set up, these officers could never be above officials of the THA.
Right.
And we are not asking you, we are not telling you how to do your job.
Right.
Most definitely we're not doing that. But we're saying that the same courtesy that you would expect for your position, your
Yes.
office, you
Yes.
would want respect. You would want that when you go in places, people will acknowledge you.
Yes.
People will treat you in a particular way. That's all we're asking for. That you come here, you want us to work together, you want us to collaborate, treat us with the same respect that all our officers deserve. And you're not even getting that. And that is the issue. They try to make it about all other things. I've seen them try to spin it into why the THA should know the social security is a private thing and you have to surprise criminals. I don't know if they think that we're going to broadcast that licensing coming next week. If you understand what I mean, that is not a responsible thing to think or do.
Yeah.
So it's not about not getting or not being able to have the information and being able to do something nefarious with it.
Yes.
We're saying to you that under the law that governs the Tobago House of Assembly, we have certain areas of responsibility.
Sure.
There are places where our jobs intersect.
Yes.
And at the places where our jobs intersect, there has to be a conversation.
Sure.
At the places where the jobs diverge, we could pass each other straight in the road and it wouldn't matter.
Indeed.
It wouldn't matter.
Indeed.
So I think that is almost a generational thing. It almost it feels as if we are feeling the brunt of years and years of disrespect that has been piled upon disrespect upon disrespect, aided and abetted by people who say they represent us.
Indeed.
Because they will never come out and say, look, there's a Tobago House of Assembly, there's a hierarchy, there's a structure. This is how things should be done. Let us do the right thing, because everybody knows what the right thing is.
But I've seen some of them made comments when there was when the party they support was in power in Tobago.
Well, it was okay when the shoes on the other foot, right?
Yeah. So you have this selective outrage.
Yes.
That we see, and so on. But you know, we continue to fight back.
Yes.
And when we say fight back, we are not burning tires in the road. You understand? That's not. Although in our history, as you mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of uprisings and so on. The Tobagonian today has emerged to be a more peace-loving conversation type of person. And
well, maybe peace choosing.
Peace choosing. That's a good point. And to our detriment at times.
Yes.
Our strategy is to continue to do the work. This is how we are fighting back.
Yes.
That in spite of what you have done, I mean, we have a historic thing happening in Tobago, right? Commonwealth Youth Games taking place in various sites in Tobago. I mean, obviously, a lot of Tobagonians, this is a novelty matter. A lot of Tobagonian fans, why would want to come until you come in mass.
Yeah.
You understand? And you disrupt. I mean, granted.
And you dampen the exuberance.
Yes.
Because, and I will make a very, very, very solid comparison. Tobago was one of the host sites for the Under-17 World Cup. And we were basically adjudged one of the best sites because all of our fans came out in their hundreds and their thousands to watch the matches. They adopted the players. They showed them a grand time. They showed them good old Tobago hospitality. And I feel like if we have not been able to have that same opportunity with these youth games in terms of being able to be embracing of our visitors, because people were honestly worried about coming to the games and getting a ticket. They don't want to come out their house.
People have issues with transportation
they eventually had to make the games free, and yet still we didn't get the crowds out. And certainly that is disappointing. Very disappointing.
And I am of the view, Secretary, I am of the view that is those things were part of the strategy in this fight. You understand? To make Tobago look bad, to make Tobago fail, as a matter of fact. For some people in Port of Spain, apparently, if everything that we attempt as an administration fails, if we are embarrassed on the international scale, people want to be able to rub that in our faces. You understand? I mean, we go a little further as we talking this, but in spite of all of that, in spite of everything that has been happening in the past months, in spite of the different things, the shocks that you spoke about, we continue to fight back with our performance. We continue to do the work that we have been elected to do and selected to do, and so on, regardless. And I think that is something that must be highlighted, because we have seen people collapse for less.
Yes, far less.
You understand what I'm saying?
They say pressure does bust pipe, but we're holding up pretty well. I have to commend, my colleagues, commend the Chief Secretary, because I don't know if any one of us has ever had a full night's sleep as a baby since we started this job, And I think for me, if I have to speak for me personally, one of the things that constantly keep me up at night is, what more could I have done?
Right.
Because I have this gigantic clock in my brain ticking down the days until our term ends.
Yes.
And in my mind, every day that passes is a day less that I have to do the thing that I'm supposed to achieve. And I know that person's expectations are very, very high. So that for me, the thing that keeps me up is, was there anything more that I could have done today to my own detriment of my health, to the detriment of my family life, to the detriment of my own mental health, The reality is that I think that we beat up ourselves the most.
Indeed.
Because for every person that is disappointed, or for every person that messages our phone that we can't help, for every person who goes on Facebook and says some very negative comment about something, we take those things personally.
Indeed.
Because we know how hard we have tried to work to clean up the messes that have been left, that we have inherited, and people don't understand the magnitude of the mess. I wish I could have simply taken a camera into my division, into secret places, and showed them the mess, so that people can have an understanding that it's not as simple. Because as fast as you're cleaning the mess, you have to go forward. You can't stand still cleaning the mess, because you will spend the whole years. You will spend the entire 4 years cleaning mess.
Of course.
So you have to work out, how am I going to shovel this mess on this side, but how am I going to move the thing forward on the other side? So it's almost like having 10 pots or 15 pots on a stove bubbling, and you have to watch all of these pots. You have to season them all. You have to make sure this don't burn, this burn slow, understand what I mean? So that we have had to force ourselves to become jack of all trades in a very, very short space of time, because this administration literally had no honeymoon period.
Indeed.
And we are trying to serve a population that is simply fed up of promises. So that somebody could have promised them out for 21 years, but then when we come in, we can't do that. We literally have to undo everything that was done in the last 21 years in our first term in office.
Indeed.
And even though it's a very lofty undertaking, we have been trying our utmost best. And we have been trying our best in the midst of all of these shocks as well. Because it is jarring, literally jarring, to know that you may have lived your life, all your life, you've never even broken a red light. And then you walk into your division and you're faced with officers of the law who are investigating some trumped up charge, and you don't understand what is all of this energy that they have to look for God knows what, but no energy was applied to actual instances of pilferage, larceny, corruption that we have seen with our own two eyes. They don't know about keeping the same energy. And in my view, if you think we've done something wrong, I don't care if you think that we've done something wrong, in the sense that apply the pressure, yes. but have that same energy
Yes.
to those
Yes.
who have done wrong,
Yes.
who have done wrong in the past and are walking around scot-free,
Indeed.
smelling flowers,
Indeed.
they're enjoying life. And you're trying to put
Indeed.
pressure on administration who is trying its best
Mhm.
to make impossible situations work. It's like the story of Rumpelstiltskin. We're trying to make gold out of hay. And that is the work every single day, to try
Right.
to make gold out of hay.
Yes,
So I
yes.
feel sorry for my colleague, Secretary James, because every town
Good
meeting
night,
we go
Secretary
to,
James.
good night,
Good night.
Secretary James.
Yes.
Every town meeting we go to
Yes.
is road,
Indeed,
is
indeed.
infrastructure.
Indeed,
And if
indeed.
you have $2 and infrastructure is $2 million, you cannot turn $2 into $2 million,
Indeed,
and you could
indeed,
only fix
indeed.
as much as you can.
Indeed,
And
indeed.
there's always going to be someone who is left out.
Mhm.
And then when that person is left out, they start to talk whether or not they're being victimized, or whether it's who they vote for, or whatever. This administration largely doesn't care who people have individually voted for, because the reality is when the votes were counted, we were elected. So our job is to serve all of the people.
Of course.
But the
of
challenge
course.
is serving all of the people is that you cannot get to all of the people at the same time
Right.
based on the amount of resources that you have. And it goes back to the comment you made about purposefully underfunding Tobago.
Mhm.
We had some severe weather last year.
Indeed. We
that-
have not
that
even recovered
resulted-
from that.
Exactly.
Yes.
We are back in the rainy season
Of
again.
course.
That resulted in millions of dollars
Mhm.
of losses and having to do cleanups.
Yes.
And we have not gotten one extra cent from
Nope.
central government to
Nope.
treat with that,
Nope.
and we're back in another rainy
Nope.
season.
Nope.
But they quickly passed
Yes.
money to go and fix roads in certain places
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
fix up the people down there.
Mhm.
And no one who says they represent Tobago advocated even for
Ah.
Tobago to
Mhm.
get some little extra money to see
Right.
how we can show up ourselves
Yes.
for this rainy season. But somehow this administration has to find the money now to fix what was broken last year and to
Mhm.
make sure that this year it don't break again. And if it break again, we have money to fix
Right,
it.
right,
And
right.
that is the juggling act
Yes,
we have.
yes.
Yes?
Secretary, listen, I don't know already that we ain't have enough time tonight, but we're going to try. So we have to take a break, viewers. I know some of you have say you're experiencing some challenges with the connectivity and so on. This has been happening since yesterday, as a matter of fact, yesterday
We
morning.
leave your own telecommunications company here. Autonomy again, eh?
Lord. So we have in those time. We hope that you stay with us here. We need to take a break. We shall be back. Make sure you call a friend, text somebody, tell them that we have been an interesting and electrifying conversation taking place here about Tobago's fight against those and that are trying to bring us down and all that. We will not cower. We will not back down. We are standing toe to toe. We're moving forward. I almost say in Jesus' name, we're moving forward.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry, don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry, if your life can't get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry, if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry, if sickness catch you off guard. I tell them never ever worry, if times fall on you real hard. I tell them never ever worry, what I'm saying is true. So just consider, Tatil will always be here for you. never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments, complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
Summerama, real steam for the summer standard. Is a dream for the summer. Dreamy, steamy, standard. What you have, what you have? All the best deals, no drama. Standard be beat like a hammer. Go tell your friend, tell your papa, tell your mama. We got more, we got more. Standards are what is searching for. Quality brand, discounts galore. New things for the summer, online in store. Summertime is here, so make the most out of it at Standard. Never beaten on quality and price. It nice.
Welcome back. This is Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Terence Baines, and sitting with me, we're having a potent conversation, I dare say. The Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, and Transportation. I'm getting it.
You
getting
got it right.
Yes, Secretary Tashia Boris. And we've talked about some matters and so on. We want to step a little further in, you know, as we continue to talk about how Tobago fights on in this war. We have the Commonwealth Youth Games taking place here in Tobago, and Tobago is abuzz with activities and so on. We'll talk a little more about that.
Yes.
But I want to talk about transportation and what you are doing on the tourism front, because like I said, we're fighting back with delivery. We're fighting back with actualizing the responsibilities that have been given to us. And so we have seen Caribbean Airlines expanding the destination. They went to St. Kitts week before the last or so, and so on. We've seen Caribbean Airlines do an earlier flight to facilitate the Commonwealth Games. My mind says to me, so it is not that they don't have the capacity to, you understand? What it is, Secretary, what it is?
Secretary Baines.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, having sat in this chair for the last year and a half, it has helped me gain an even deeper appreciation for what is at play. Yeah? So I myself have also sat and seen the ads for all the expanded routes across the Caribbean.
Yes.
Just this week, they announced extra flights for St. Martin. I saw them put on extra flights for St. Lucia Jazz. I saw them put on extra flights for Cropova and Spice Mass. I've seen Cal show up for the other Caribbean islands.
Yes.
Even in the advertising, I'm seeing them advertising Jamaica. You could go and hike and you could go Dunn's River. And in my mind, if Cal is the national airline of Trinidad and Tobago, why am I seeing all of this effort being placed into advertising other destinations and ensuring that there is connectivity between other destinations? But where is that same energy for getting us back to where we were before COVID?
Right.
And I do not think that it is for, I mean, the explanation that we were given last year was one that I could have accepted, meaning that you're coming out of COVID, you have to get back on your crew, you're getting some new aircraft so that you're hoping that within a year to 18 months, you could be back to that schedule.
Right.
A year hasn't passed since that conversation, but I'm seeing you expanding your route.
Sure.
So clearly you have planes,
Sure.
and clearly
Sure.
you have crew.
Sure.
So if you have planes and you have crew,
Sure.
then what's going on in Tobago?
Indeed.
And I mean, again, if I have to be very, very unemotional and dispassionate about it, Cal is a business. And Cal is in the business of moving people for money. And if it is that they don't think in their business mind that the Trinidad and Tobago domestic route is profitable, and it's more profitable for them to run their ATRs throughout the Caribbean, and they could charge whatever they charge, and that is better for their business bottom line, then I'm not going to knock CAL on the head for that. I could knock them for their service. But I'm not going to knock them on the head for wanting to become a profitable business. What I will knock on the head is that if CAL has to be profitable, then there must be some entity that is dedicated to ensuring that the airbridge is serviced adequately.
Right.
And if that entity is not CAL, then we have to decide
Yes.
who that entity is going to be, and that entity has to come on board now.
Right. Because that's the other thing that I want to raise. There have been other
Yes,
airlines
we have
that
had other
expressed,
airlines in the past.
and they seem to be this stumbling block all the time.
And that is the thing. I mean, people want to look at it from the standpoint of it's a business and they have to make profit. But you have to look at the airbridge as public transportation. It's a public utility.
That is an essential service for Tobagonians.
We cannot call it, because if another airline comes in, they should be concerned with profit, because they are a foreign airline. They're coming. They will do their math. They will look at their business model. They will charge according to what their business model allows them to be sustainable on the route. But when you say that Caribbean Airlines is the national airline of Trinidad and Tobago, it means that Tobago didn't have a choice in the matter. You all have designated CAL as the national airline of Trinidad and Tobago. And if you've designated CAL as the national airline of Trinidad and Tobago, then CAL has to take up its responsibility. And it shouldn't be left up to our Secretary of Tourism to write a letter to our CEO, or write a letter to our Ministry of Works, or our Chief Secretary to write a letter to our Ministry of Works. And for 2 representatives in Parliament, I don't know if they even talk about CAL at all. But the reality is that we continue to suffer. This is 2023. Why are we still suffering? Why am I still going to the airport and still seeing people waiting on standby for hours? Why is it that when I am the Secretary of Tourism and there are days that I'm going to Trinidad for work and I can't get a confirmed ticket, and when I reach out, they say, oh, we can't help you. That all of that is part of the disrespect that people don't know about. Right? So I didn't have no friends that I could call on the airline and say, put me on the plane.
I have even told my friends who trying to get a flight, I have told them, listen, if you are from Tobago and you have not slept on the airport once,
you're not a Tobagonian.
You have missed out on a critical part of the Tobago experience. You understand?
And I mean, we might be joking about it, but that is the reality.
It is.
And it's crazy even in this day and age, because I could remember being young and going to Trinidad for schooling and having those same challenges back then. And 20 years later, I am still having the same challenges.
And here's another point, Secretary. A larger amount of people have the desire to visit Tobago. The numbers keep growing all the time.
I mean, there was an interview with Mr. Frankie of Frankie Stores, and he said it himself. He said, tear up all the statistics for the last 25 years. The amount of persons who have traveled to Tobago this year, who have been accessing mostly the sea bridge, because you cannot get that level of surety from the air bridge, because imagine I came up from Trinidad yesterday. I had to be in Trinidad for work. I came up from Trinidad yesterday morning. I asked them, is it possible for me to get a ticket to come back today because I had another engagement to go to today? They said everything is booked until September 1st. So Tobagonians who might have to go to Trinidad for medical appointments, or they may have to go to buy books for their children, or they may have to go to school, or they may have other important business to do. Nobody can book a ticket to leave in the morning and come back in the afternoon until September. And we call this progress. And we want to talk about tourism, and we want to talk about attracting visitors. But if the visitors cannot travel between the islands, then what are we trying to sell exactly?
You know, that part of the war too, you know. This is part of the war, because it is not for a lack of information, a lack of, this lamentation about the transportation has been going on forever and ever and ever.
This is a monopoly that works against Tobago. Because the reality is that CAL could tell me how many seats were unutilized, but they cannot tell me how many times somebody went on the website and attempted to book a ticket and didn't get through.
Right.
And I'm sure those numbers far exceed the amount of seats that were unutilized, because the reality is that if at any given time somebody opens up a browser and they click, I want to leave this morning and come back this afternoon, and no availability shows up, and they do that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, eventually they change their mind. And think about a foreigner who is wanting to visit Tobago, wanting to visit Tobago, and they go online and they don't see any availability out of Port of Spain to Tobago. Then they change their mind. It's the same challenge we will have with any event that is happening in Tobago, whether it be a jazz, whether it be a heritage festival, whether it be a blue food festival, whether it be October Carnival. People want to be able to plan their vacations, plan their time off with a level of certainty.
Indeed.
And if CAL cannot provide that level of certainty, then it means that we lose every time somebody clicks on that site and cannot get a ticket for when they want to travel.
I
Because
mean, you could
eventually what they
imagine
do is change their mind.
Yeah, I mean, you could get from New York, you could get from Frankfurt to Port of Spain, and you can't
But you cannot
and
get
you
to
can't get
Tobago.
to Tobago in 20
Okay.
minutes. I mean,
Okay.
it is maddening.
Okay.
You understand? I mean, we could talk about this, but let's move on a little. I mean, you have been doing amazing work, and there is a kind of interwovenness. Let me put it that way, with the transportation
Yeah.
and the work that you're doing to
Yes.
try to get
Yeah.
woo carriers, because
Yes.
some of the carriers may come to Trinidad.
Yeah.
There is, I was on a flight sitting next to a pilot, and he was telling me that is a flight that comes KLM that comes
Right.
from Amsterdam,
Yes.
right? And I did not even know that, and so on. He was coming to Tobago to take a few days.
Yeah.
So you have that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's the work that you are doing, the travel market
But
work.
and I would tell you, I
Yes.
mean, having Port of Spain so close by is no advantage to us,
No.
because Tobago has to pay for airlift. Port of Spain doesn't. Port of
Mhm.
Spain is one of 2 airports in the Caribbean that doesn't pay for planes to fly. The other airport is in Jamaica,
Mhm.
right? But anybody who has to fly to Tobago, we have to pay them to fly. And the kind of money that we are paying carriers, that we're putting on the table
Yes.
to have to need to pay carriers to come to Tobago, that same money we could actually put on the table for Caribbean Airlines and say,
Indeed.
here, what, fix the air bridge.
Indeed.
Because people could fly into Port of Spain
Yes.
seamlessly. They can connect from any part of the world to Port of Spain.
Right,
So if it is your argument is that it is 20 minutes from Port of Spain to Tobago,
Uh-huh.
it means then therefore that if we fix that little link for whatever it costs,
Yes,
compared to what we're paying for people to fly direct,
yes.
it means that they can fly directly into Port of Spain. We manage the connection, make sure that their luggage is seamlessly
Yes.
transferred from one flight to another,
Mhm.
and we get them on whatever flight they have to get to Tobago.
Yeah,
It means
yeah.
that once people have that level, that comfort, knowing that they can land in Port of Spain, and in an hour's time they can be in Tobago, they could be in their hotel, they could be picked up, they could go to a bonfire, whatever time they're reaching.
Mhm.
But they have that surety that they can come here, enjoy themselves safely, and they can leave when
Yeah.
they need to. That our foreigners are not fighting with our locals around peak time, because
Right.
we have several peak times during the course of any year.
Yep.
So that
yep.
at those times, it doesn't make sense to go to the airport. Right now, on any given day, you have a number of persons trying to try getting standby to
Sure.
go on flights.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
It means that there is some problem, some challenge that we're not
Yeah,
properly
yeah,
interrogating
yes,
to
yes,
determine what the
yes,
right solution is.
yes. But that
I
point,
d-
that is a serious point that you're making. I never thought about that. In fact, I was not aware that the carriers have to pay to fly to Tobago, and the same money that we pay. This is a good time for us to bring the Twin Island Republic conversation.
Well, you would
to
think
the
that
table.
would work
This
for
is a
us,
good
right?
time. Yeah. And on top of that, remember that the THA had offered to pay
To keep the airport
keep the
open
airport
late,
open.
and that offer has been on the table for the
Yes.
last year and a half.
Yes, yes.
And it's not like if it's not the lack of trying from an airport authority to accommodate the THA, and I do have to say thanks to them, because they have always been accommodating once we've reached out. But Carl doesn't answer to a Tobago House of Assembly. Carl answers to a Minister of Works in
Yes.
Trinidad, and if the
Yes.
Minister of Works maybe doesn't give his okay, then nothing happening for us. And it cannot be that Tobago has to beg to be
Yes.
serviced. Why
Yes.
are we even begging to be serviced in 2023? And that is one of the fallouts from not having your autonomy and
Yes.
not having your own systems in place
Indeed,
to be able to
indeed,
attract your own
indeed,
carriers and
indeed,
determine
Indeed.
what happens in your own airspace. Because although the fifth schedule gives us responsibility for airports and seaports, we don't have responsibility for civil aviation.
Right.
So we could talk to 100 airlines when we go out
Yes.
to these different trade shows. But if it
Yeah.
is that we cannot guarantee them that once they have their papers in order and they
Right,
have everything
right,
in
right.
line, that they can get a license to operate, and it can be granted to them within an okay enough time frame that they could set up their business model in a particular way, and they can begin flying. If we can't give those assurances, then nobody is going to have a conversation
Yeah,
with us, because
yes.
Tobago cannot guarantee that a
Yes.
civil aviation is going to approve somebody's application. And even though we may have one representative on the board of civil aviation who may not be appointed by the Tobago House of Assembly, that also doesn't give us any guarantee
Indeed,
that one
indeed.
voice in that room can
Indeed.
advocate for increased servicing of the air bridge by other carriers.
Yes.
And again, because this monopoly exists, Cal can treat us how they feel.
That is the
Because
truth.
there is no competition
the
to come
truth.
in and we
That
could
is the
say, well,
truth. That
Cal
is the
ain't treating
truth.
me good,
That
so I
is the
could go
truth.
buy next
That
some.
is the
It
truth.
ain't working like
That
that.
is the truth.
You know, that ain't working here
That-
tonight.
that-
So, you know, it's the
Yes.
same. So when you get your
Yes.
bad service
Yes.
or your okay
Yes.
service or whatever service
Yes.
you get,
Yes.
you might be vexed, you might want to
Yeah.
swell up your face, but it's the same
Yeah.
counter you have to go back to
Indeed.
because that is the
Indeed.
only
Indeed.
mechanism
Indeed.
you could utilize. So
Indeed.
if you're getting bad service on one end and
Indeed.
bad service at some other end,
Yes.
you know, we're really, really stuck in the middle. And it's a very uncomfortable place to be. It's an
Mhm.
uncomfortable place for me to be because I see my people suffering.
Yeah.
I see my people suffering. People have reached out to my office to try to get bookings on Cal, and I try to come, and even they must get fed up on me by now because the reality is that yes, the system is not working
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people are only reaching out to my office because they feel I have some power and I could pick up the phone and somehow a seat magically opens for me. But
Yes.
I don't even have that luxury.
Yes.
Most
Yes.
often times I have to try go on the airport and ask to be accommodated for
Indeed.
work because
Indeed.
I
Indeed.
cannot get a confirmed
Yes.
flight to travel.
Yes.
And if at my level I can't get
Yes.
that, then what happens to the man who may not have a
Right,
position
right.
and a title that anybody
Indeed,
recognizes?
indeed,
And
indeed.
it shouldn't be that the situation is only selective. It shouldn't be that just because I'm the Secretary of Tourism that I am automatically given a seat, or because you're the Secretary of Community Development, you're automatically given a
Right.
seat. It should be that Tobagonians should have a sense that they will be accommodated
right.
when I go in advance
Yes.
online to book.
Yes.
Right? Or
Yes.
I know that at some point in time, if I check back on the system, there will be something to accommodate me, or that there are simply enough flights
Mhm.
that I would not have to fight to get
Yeah,
access
yeah.
to a limited amount of flights during any given day, because we have to get back to our pre-COVID numbers. We are bursting at the seams now
Yes.
in terms of people wanting to come and cannot come.
Right.
And I think that if we go back to our pre-COVID numbers, our numbers will continue to grow because Tobago is a destination in demand. That is the reality.
Yes.
People want to come to Tobago. They want to enjoy Tobago. Tobago is largely very crime-free and safe for families. I mean, going down to Pigeon Point to check on the Commonwealth Games today, people are filling up these glass-bottom boats to
Yes,
go out on
indeed.
you know, and go out on the
Indeed.
Bucca Reef and that kind
Indeed.
of thing. And
Indeed.
if you ask the average person in the street on that side who is plying their trade in the tourism sector, how has this season been for them? They will say it's a bumper season,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
because it's a bumper season, it doesn't just have to be one bumper season in the year. Tobago is a destination that is in demand at all times of the year.
Right.
Whether you're talking about in January or May or July, August, or now in October because of our carnival, or down in December, we have to really be a destination that can cater to an influx of visitors almost every other weekend.
Yes.
And when you hear the history of the business community and they tell you that during the times when we weren't getting the international visitors, it really was the domestic tourism that has been
Sure.
helping their
Sure.
businesses
Sure.
stay afloat.
Sure.
We have
Sure.
to recognize the importance of our market of 1.4 million people next door that we want to welcome. And part of one of the fallouts of all of this fighting is that the average Trinidadian who has no reference point for what Tobagonians might be going through or history with colonial powers in
Yes,
Trinidad,
yes.
because they almost resemble
Indeed,
a
indeed,
Little Britain
indeed,
in the
indeed,
makeup, right?
Indeed.
The average Trinidadian doesn't necessarily care for that.
Yes.
They want to come to Tobago,
Sure,
they want a
sure,
vacation.
sure,
They
sure.
want to know that they could walk the streets and they feel safe.
Yes.
It's a safe place for their families. And we have to start to advertise Tobago as more than just tourism. Because the reality is that our population has to grow.
Yes.
Because in order for us as an island to progress, we have to start to retain persons on the island. We have to reverse some of that brain drain with our young people who are going out and stay outside when they go and study. We also have to become an island that is attracting the talent back. We have to attract talent from all over the world. When you look at what is happening in Barbados, one of the things that they did during COVID was introduce a digital nomad visa. So you paid for this digital nomad visa and you paid for it in US dollars, by the way. And when you got this visa, you were able to live and work remotely in Barbados for a period of 2 years. And when you look at the impact of that on an economy
Yes,
where you
yes,
can have
yes,
young
yes,
professionals
yes,
coming in,
yes.
and they now can contribute to your local economy. They're working here. They are now weaving themselves into the fabric of your society, and they're finding ways to give back, because you want these people to come and become engaged in your society. You want them to find positive things to do.
Right.
Tobago needs that sort of injection of talent,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we have to understand that a stagnant population of 65,000 persons is not going to continue to help businesses grow here. everybody's going to stay at the same level because you're serving the same catchment area of persons. So Tobago either has to grow its resident population exponentially over the next 5 to 10 years, or we have to develop systems where we have a very large transient population. So places like Dubai, where people visit in the hundreds of thousands, their businesses really are surviving and thriving based on tourists.
Yes.
So that if Tobago has all the ingredients already, sun, sand, sea,
Right.
music,
And all the-
woman,
all the-
wine, song, all of
all
these
the raw
things,
material, yes,
all of the raw
material.
materials is in the pot.
Yes.
Then what has to happen is that we have to make sure, and that is why transportation is so critical.
Let me ask you this, Secretary. So we have very little, and some may say no private sector in Tobago, you know, and my own layman's perspective on that is there was no concerted effort to develop and to facilitate the growth of a private sector
Right. Mhm.
in Tobago.
Yes.
The government of the day kind of tried to employ almost everybody, and everybody had pretty much kind of dependent on the government.
Right.
And I feel that was part of a
So-
political ploy to stay in power too, and all that. So here we are now.
Yeah.
The Tobago tourism product has not been optimized in my mind.
Yes.
So we have all the basic infrastructure and so on.
Mhm.
I have seen destinations in the region have nothing close to
So
what
what we
Tobago
have,
has.
yes.
You
Mhm,
understand?
mhm.
I have visited St. Thomas on several occasions. I remember I went there one day and it had 23,000 people
Yeah.
from about 14 different cruise
Yeah.
ships that were in the harbor on that day.
I went on a cruise in 2019 right before COVID.
Right.
And you know, these destinations sound very exotic, but when you go, it
But
literally
I'm
has
telling you,
nothing.
there is
You know,
nothing.
That's really exciting or
Yes,
or
I mean
no.
they have some nice beaches.
Yes, they do.
They had a pretty decent golf course.
Okay.
And the
they
novelty
went
of
to-
it, there is a restaurant on a hill, a little
Right.
mountain overlooking the harbor that you go to
right
with a
and
cable car.
it's popular,
Right,
right?
and it's popular.
A popular attraction.
But I'm telling you, it is one of the main tourist destinations because they set up the place to
Yeah.
facilitate that.
And again, and all you're saying, part of it ties back to this idea of autonomy.
Right.
Because when you have full jurisdiction over your space,
Yes.
and
yes.
you can determine how your space develops.
Right.
You can determine that we're going to focus on tourism in a very real way, and we're going to inject a certain amount of money into building that sector, and you have the latitude to do that.
I got you.
Then it means that you are now in a position to craft your industries, to
Yes.
set up your industries in a particular way. I would tell you that autonomy is literally that lack of autonomy is keeping us back.
Yes.
I'll give you a very, very prime example. You have the other economies in the Caribbean, the Jamaicas, the Barbados, the Grenadians, everybody else has independence.
Yes.
So it means that their government can write legislation that is very tourism friendly.
Got you.
Yes?
Got you.
So that there are certain tax breaks that developers can get to
Right.
develop.
Yes.
There are certain things that they have to do in terms of giving back to the local economies. There are certain things that they have to do in terms of employing a certain amount of locals and all of these kinds of things. And we are being held back by very archaic legislation
Yes.
that is like a millstone around our neck.
Right.
The land license is one such legislation. You know, we have a developer right now who is going through the process of doing his hotel development, and he put in his application since 2006. He only got approvals maybe in 2021 to go ahead with his project, and the only reason he stayed the course is because he 2 children born here. So he fell in love with the island and he
Right.
kept coming and going.
Right,
So he
right,
didn't
right.
pull his application. He didn't shelve his dream of building this thing.
Right.
He stuck it out, but it took so long.
Yes,
Nobody who has money
Right.
is going to sit and wait for
Right,
anybody
right,
in
right.
any
Because there are
office
several other-
anywhere.
There are several other destinations that are
approve
more
any-
user friendly for
Of
things.
course. So
Yes.
when you have regimes set up in other destinations that literally are telling you, come with your money, come
Right.
and build, come,
Yes.
you have all of the latitude to do what you have to do once you check all the boxes.
Mhm.
But yet we have a land license, we have outdated Tourism Development Act legislation, which still talks about small fridges and 3-ring stove in rooms, when we're talking about moving to the place where we have villas with full kitchens and that kind of thing, and you're not getting tax breaks on these things, and how are we encouraging, how are we now being able to compete with other destinations who have those types of regimes set up to be able to encourage the businesses to come, so that we don't understand how much we are being kept back. We are being kept back because there's so many things that we can try that we've seen work in other destinations. For example, citizenship by investment. I have traveled on 2 occasions, and you know, when you're looking on at the screens, they will show you these different advertisements for citizenship by investment. And in Dominica, they have a citizenship by investment program that they advertise every year, but they only accept applications for a particular period during the year. And I think when I remember it, I think a single application is something like 125,000 US or something like that, and a family application is 175. I stand to be corrected, but it's a heap load of money. And then when I went there and I had the opportunity to have a conversation with the Minister of Tourism there, and she indicated that their development program is actually funded by the Citizenship by Investment program. So when you talk about in any given year, a number of persons are paying this money to purchase this citizenship by investment, and that money could now be channeled back into the communities and channeled back into the society, and they could build out critical infrastructure because that money is now coming into the economy through that means. It means that they could now fill up a lot of their development. They don't have to wait to pass a budget to see what they can give and where they could scrape. And if it is that Tobago could now take advantage of programs like that, where we can offer citizenship by investment. And I mean, certainly we will have to set up systems to thoroughly vet persons, because they don't just want to give citizenship by investment to anybody, and we've seen the pitfalls of that in other territories. But once we could set up these structures where we could properly vet persons, and they check all the boxes, and they pay for this citizenship by investment, and we are now able to take that money and channel it directly into our development program. So it means that we have money coming in that could fix roads, that could build schools, that could repair schools, that could do some work in the hospitals, that could make a serious difference in the lives of the people who live here. And these are decisions that we have no responsibility for. We have no, you know, we can't even, who do we even begin to have the conversation with? Especially if the seas seem very turbulent of late. Who do we have the conversation with?
Listen, I mean, there is just so much that goes on in the mind when you look at, and again, and I agree with you, and we've been having this conversation for the past couple of programs, that all that we're talking about there is anchored in the autonomy issue.
Right, yeah.
You understand? And the point that you made about these other destinations having the ability and the right to craft the different policies to facilitate that. You understand what I'm saying? And I keep saying that we have to find a way, and I think one of the reasons why I think these types of programs are useful as we ventilate these issues, because some of the things that we're trying to accomplish, we need an island approach to those things. You understand?
Yeah.
And a lot of Tobagoans perhaps have not been, you know, up to speed with the conversation about autonomy and the implications of it. You understand?
Because I think even the way that the conversation has been crafted, it would likely turn off people, because it's being spoken of from a very lofty place. But no one has ever really interrogated to the point where people could now show how it affects you, the person, or you, your family. Because I think there are some Tobagonians who feel disconnected from the autonomy conversation because they don't know how it affects them. But the reality is that it affects all of us. I'll give you another prime example. Something as simple as maxi taxi rides. So we have maxi taxis in Tobago. They work, most of them are utilized for the school system. They use them for cruise ship operations, and then some of them work their buses privately, different private hire type situations. And Tobago was only allotted a limited number of maxi rides. So that if you as a young person, you grow up and you save your money and you say you want to buy a maxi, we have maxed out the amount of maxi rides that we have. So it means that we have to go back to somebody in Trinidad to take a decision to increase the amount of maxi rides.
I mean,
really?
Yes.
So that you're telling me that a young person who may decide that they want to get into transportation in a big way, who you know, they want to be, they want to operate in this space. They
Yes.
want to go and do tours for cruise ships. They want to do tours in general because I think we also have a very limited view of our tourism products.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
when you go to other destinations and you see what tours look like, they are
Yeah.
round the city tours, there
Yes,
are tours
yes,
all
yes,
over the
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
So it's not just during a cruise
Yeah.
ship season.
A
You
man
have
sell me a
people-
piece of stick in Jamaica, you know.
don't
I
know
mean,
that.
no, I'm serious.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
But they sell everything.
But that's what I'm saying. And the
So-
thing about it, I knew it was a piece of stick.
but you
I
still
knew it.
bought
But I was so flabbergasted by the sell.
Yes, yes.
The sell, the sell, the pitch, the pitch.
Yeah.
I said, give me the thing, give me the thing, give me
Right.
the thing.
So, but that's the thing.
Yes.
You would not be sold a piece of stick in Tobago.
No.
The only piece of stick you might get sold in Tobago might be a Benin stick.
right.
That has a purpose.
Yes.
Right? But the reality is that we have so much to offer, yes.
Mhm.
But when you have something as limiting as not being able to own a maxi taxi
Yes.
because there are no more rights to give, or the amount of tax that they are being asked to pay to have the rights, when we in Tobago should be able to say, well, look, we just come out of COVID, these guys weren't making any set of money, we closed down our cruise ship sector.
Mhm.
We should be able to say that we're going to give them a moratorium on paying this thing for the next 3 years until they get back on their feet, and then they go again. So that we in Tobago can't even help our own people.
Right.
We can't even do that.
Right.
Because we have to go and literally throw ourselves at the mercy of some minister in Trinidad, hoping that they understand.
Let me just say to the guys in the master control room, we're having some person saying that we're having some issues with secretary's microphone. And if you guys would be so kind to help us here. Because we want everybody to be able to hear what we're saying, because we're talking a sensible thing. So let's take a break and see if we could fix this, and we'll come back. Stay there.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Good morning. Put a smile on your
Inner Health, number 13B Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Viewers, welcome back. This is Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates, and we've been having a fantastic conversation. Nonetheless, we've been having some technical issues and so on. We have some connectivity issues. We've been having that since yesterday, and other little technical things which we are attempting to fix. Because you must hear Secretary Boris's voice. You must hear her voice. She's been making some points about what is happening on the tourism landscape and so on, what is happening in Tobago, the possibilities and where we're trying to go. You know, Secretary, in the midst of all that we've discussed thus far, the challenges and so on, I think that we are on a trajectory, meaning this administration.
Yeah.
Because since we started this journey, we've discussed that we have faced several different type things, and we keep pushing ahead.
Yes.
We keep pushing ahead.
Yeah.
Our response to the war, our response to the fight is to keep pushing ahead.
Yeah.
I am encouraged that we will find a way.
Yeah.
That we will find a way.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is to galvanize the Tobago public,
Yeah.
you know, around this question
Yeah.
of autonomy and everything that we are talking about, everything that to improve the livelihood of Tobagonians, to create the kind of atmosphere for our people to thrive. We must have this which has been promised to us, which is, you know, which is supposed to be the manifestation according to what is written down in the rules and so on. And of course, we know that there must be some amendments for us to get the full thing that we want and so on. And I am saying, in the midst of all of this, with all these encumbrances, with all these challenges, with all these shocks,
Yes.
and we still continue to forge ahead. I suspect, Secretary, that the fear is if you only let Tobagonians loose, if you only just give this island an opportunity, people ain't gonna be able to see when we pass. I feel that.
No, I honestly think that they are really, really afraid of what we can accomplish. I mean, imagine that we're under all of this immense pressure, and again, I don't think that the average Tobagonian understands how many attacks this administration has been subject to and how much pressures we have been shouldering, but still being able to show up every day and give of our best and give of more than our best in most instances. And I mean, if we get the room to breathe, you know, if they give it the room to pass, I mean, I think that they wouldn't see us by the time they're ready to turn around. And, you know, we should not be afraid of success. And we should not be afraid of supporting success. Because the thing about it is that anybody who sits in a seat anywhere in Tobago and says they want this administration to fail, that is a sad person. Because if you want this administration to fail, then you're saying you want Tobago to fail. And if Tobago becomes a failed state, it serves nobody's purposes. Tobago cannot become a failed state within a failing state. For many different reasons. Because the fear here is that Tobago could one day lead again. Because we used to. We had government. Trinidad was a colony. We had government. We moved from having government to becoming a ward. That's a serious downgrade. That's not just a downgrade on paper. That's not just a downgrade in law. That's not just a downgrade in attitude. I'm telling you. And, you know, beating us mentally into submission and reminding us at every turn that we are but a ward. Because they don't say it, but you know it, and you know they're thinking it.
Yeah, they're saying it with their mouth.
They're not saying it with their mouth. Yes. So that they have literally kind of told us that you gave up British colonial rule for Trinidad colonial rule, and we shall rule you. So in other words, don't go there. Don't do that. Don't talk to that person. Don't go in that place. Don't have that idea. Don't want to change. Don't ask for different. Don't ask for more. And this administration has been to demand more. And not just demand more from a money perspective, because again, there are some people who will try to make it into a money issue. It's not a money issue. You cannot tell me that the oil and gas fields that lie in Tobago's waters are off the northeast coast of Trinidad. You cannot tell me that. And it's not like if Tobago is saying we want 100% of the revenues derived from those oil and gas fields, which is by right in our territorial waters, according to international law. But at least bring us to the table to negotiate. No, you want all. And you must take all and decide, well, okay, I will break off this little piece and give. And you must take that and you must hush your mouth.
Yes, and
Yes,
redefine,
yes,
redefine
yes,
Tobago
of course, to facilitate all of that.
Yeah.
And the reality is when you see all of the attempts that have been made to try to make Tobago more and more small, to remind us more and more of our place, is the more we will push back.
Yes, yes.
Is the more that we will not give up.
Yes.
Because none of us have time to respond to the tit for tat. We don't have time for that.
Indeed.
Right? According to my chief, these little dogs that bark in the road, we have pedigree. Yes, we have pedigree. So we don't have time to be fighting behind people who throwing tantrums and waking up with a vengeance. We don't have time for that because there's too much work to be done. There's too much work to be done. And the time that people are taking to fight against us, if they unite with us, we will move this nation forward.
Yes.
Because it's not just about Tobago succeeding and Trinidad failing. Nobody wants Trinidad to fail.
No.
But Trinidad has a lot of issues that they have to mind their business
Sure,
to solve.
Sure.
And the energy you have to try and mind Tobago people business. I want to see that same energy applied in that place.
Yeah,
down
I mean
there.
it's selective. It's selective, and I am convinced, as some others are, that it is part of this war that they're fighting. You understand? But we have recognized it. We see the battle for what it is. Now, we coming down to the final segment, and the time of our way does fly here to Tobago updates when we talking sensible thing. I don't know if Nana does set up the clock in some kind of way. You understand? And we'll have that conversation. But in another strategy in our response, in our fighting back, we have a matter. We have another matter. We have an event pending.
Yes.
That is going to be happening on this coming Sunday.
Yes.
Right in the heart of the city.
The heart of the city.
Yes, it is a move that is exciting. It is something that almost make your hair stand up in the back of your head. You understand?
Yes.
That there will be an official launch of the TPP, the Tobago People's Party. We've been doing a lot of work with, you've seen stuff occur and in the startup, the meetings at Shaw Park and so on. And we've done due diligence and we are ready to launch in a big way. The fight now start.
Yes.
The fight now start. We're
Most
moving
definitely.
the battle into another level, in another place.
Yes.
We will not, I'm saying it again,
No.
we're not backing down. We're not backing down. Thank God we have a chief secretary that leads from the front.
Yes.
You understand? That leads from the front. We're not backing down. We want everything that is belonging to us. We want the rights that we're supposed to have. We don't want it next week, next year,
want
next
it
month. We
now.
want it now. You understand? We don't have no control over tomorrow. As we are alive today, we want this stuff today. So, Sec, I know you have been a part of the planning for this event on Sunday. Jump in and talk with things.
Well, I would tell you that, this is a culmination of a lot of work, as you said.
Yes.
Part of when you examine the history of the struggle, the anti-other side struggle.
Yes.
We'll call it that, right? Yes. It has undergone several incarnations, and when you think about the fact that it has evolved and there were a number of personalities involved, there were a number of symbols, a number of names, a number of philosophies and ideologies. The Tobago People's Party is the culmination of all of that. It's the gathering of all the factions.
Yes.
It's the one voice that is required in this time to speak on behalf of the people of Tobago resoundingly. It is a party of Tobagonians and people who consider themselves Tobagonians, whether you're Tobagonian by birth, whether you're Tobagonian by boat, whether you're Tobagonian by parentage, whether you're Tobagonian by marriage, whether you're Tobagonian because you learn about the island and you fall in love and you never went back to where you come from.
Right.
All the people who consider themselves Tobagonians and they love Tobago and they want to see Tobago progress. Us launching on Sunday is one of many steps that we have had to take to go up this mountain, because the real ultimate goal is not to be a party in power. We are not an organization with a philosophy that we have to hold on to power, because power is not the ultimate goal here. The ultimate goal is to be the vehicle through which Tobagonians can self-actualize
Yes,
into
yes,
the
yes,
best
yes, yes.
people that they
Yes,
can be.
yes.
And for far too long, we have been drowning in a sea of mediocrity and worse than that,
A cesspool, man.
a cesspool of
Yes.
mediocrity.
Yes,
And the reality is that we now have to do some cleansing.
yes.
So when you see the sea start to get rough, it's
Yes.
because the sea cleansing
Yes.
itself, yes? So all of this turbulence that we have been seeing in this
Yes,
space
yes.
is not by chance.
Agreed.
Because I know the Lord has his hand in everything,
Sure,
as he's
sure,
always
sure.
had his hand in it.
Sure.
And he has his hand in this even now.
Sure.
And even though those seas appear rough, even though we have had a most turbulent time in office, because no one can say that we've had an easy time. No one who is being fair, standing on the outside, could say that we've had, as I say, a honeymoon. We have not had a honeymoon. In fact, they've turned up, they've cranked up the
Yes,
heat
ma'am.
even more.
Yes, yes, yes.
They throw down the gauntlet and they're ready for a fight and they
Yes.
want to brawl up. But you
Yes.
know what? We stand proud.
Yes.
We're not backing down.
No. No.
We're not backing down. And the symbol that we have chosen for this party is very, very important because we know from whence this new generation, this new school. So I'm not even talking back about Robinson days and APT James. I'm talking about this new generation. We came out from a bamboo bully time. And it was a necessary time.
Yes.
Because when you're in darkness, you need light.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes,
the bully was necessary because we needed
Yeah.
light to light our way.
Yeah.
But now we come into the light on.
Yeah, man,
Yes?
stop
The
things,
light
man, stop
on.
the things, stop the
So
things.
because the light is on and we're
Yes.
seeing, we're charting the course.
Yes.
We're seeing where we have to
Yes.
go. And even though many obstacles lie between where we're at now and where we have to get to, we're not going to turn back.
Right.
It's too late to turn back.
Indeed.
We're not going to stand still because standing still serves no purpose. We have to forge ahead and we have to forge ahead fearlessly. And in the times when the seas get too rough, we drop the anchor and the anchor will
Excuse
hold.
me.
You understand? Because we can't fail. We don't have the luxury of failure at this time.
Not at this level. Not at this level.
And we also have to understand that this is not just a ship with 16 sailors and a captain. This is a Tobago ship.
Yes.
This is a Tobago ship that has a space for every single Tobagonian on this island who wants to see the best things happen on this island, who wants to move from a place where we have to depend on a central government in Trinidad
Yes.
to a place where Tobago could stand on its own 2 feet. And nothing is wrong with wanting to stand on your own 2 feet. And we have to start to inculcate that. We have
Yes.
to understand that it's okay to want to
This
stand
is
on your
growth.
own
This
2
is
feet.
growth. This is life. You can't remain
I-
in the infancy of your development all the time.
Exactly. I don't know where the fear comes from because nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Indeed.
There are a
indeed,
number
indeed.
of countries, smaller in size than Tobago, have no resources compared to us, and populations similar to us, or slightly smaller or slightly larger. And they are thriving. Even with no natural resources, they are thriving. So when you
But the
see
fear is constructed. You know. It is
and we
it
have
is
to
deliberate.
and we have to break the constructs
Sure.
of the fear.
Sure.
Because people have to understand that if you continue to shackle yourself to that which is committed to keeping you back, you cannot go anywhere.
Yeah, that is
We
true.
cannot have a conversation about autonomy if we continue to hold on to fear,
Yes.
fear of what progress would mean. Because some people are convinced that maybe autonomy will mean that they have to work 8 to 4 and they cannot go to work for 2 hours when the morning comes. But the thing is that no society can be built
That
if
is
people
true.
only working 2
That is
hours a
true.
day.
That is true.
When you
That is
look
true.
at progressive societies, it's because there's a shift that is working from 8 to 4, 4 to 12, and 12 to 8 in the morning. Progress requires sacrifice.
Excuse me.
Yes? Progress requires sacrifice.
Indeed.
And nobody is going to come to build Tobago for us. It's the people who live here, the
Sure,
people who care
sure,
about here,
sure.
have to build this island. And part of building this island is building strong institutions.
Indeed,
And
indeed.
strong institutions like political organizations, strong institutions like civil society, strong institutions like Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association and all of these different entities that represent sections of the population, because people cannot just see the THA as being up there after God. And I think in the minds of the Tobagonian, the THA is after God. But the reality is that we had a booming private sector.
Yeah, and
We
but
had, I
as a
remember that
people-
as a
as a people, we are proud people, not arrogant, a proud people
Mhm.
in that. You know, we have a history of people being the masters of their own
Yes,
destiny.
yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Charting your own
Mhm,
course.
mhm.
This dependency syndrome that have been foisted upon us in more recent times, and so I say more recent, the last 2 decades or so, you know, has severely killed the hunt of the average
Yes,
Tobagonian.
yes.
But and I give God thanks every day for this time and this
Yes.
move that is taking
Mhm,
place,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
there is a sense, there's a stirring and a turning in the air,
Yeah.
in the atmosphere, in the
Mhm,
space,
yes.
that people are coming to the place where they understand that we can be more, we
We
should
can be
aspire
more,
for
and we
more,
can
and
aspire
all of
for
that.
more.
And
And
yeah.
it's more than just about talking about it,
Mhm.
because we have demonstrated that we're willing to put in the work to make the thing happen.
Sure,
I
sure.
mean, could you have imagined that an administration could build a sporting facility
Mhm.
like that BlackRock
Yes.
or
In
Corland
40 days.
Beach Sports Arena
Yeah.
in 40 days?
Yes.
Those things never happen.
Mhm.
It has never happened.
And those 40
It-
days were punctuated with all
Kinds of obstacles,
You know,
and it has. I am willing to put my head on a block. It's never happened in the history of this country. It's never happened, and that is remarkable. And it's not just that our chief secretary had the vision, and it's not just a secretary who is bent on executing the vision, and it's not just that there was a head of an organizing committee made up of other persons who had a mandate to ensure the thing happened.
Yes.
But every single worker who showed up to work,
Indeed.
and they work in rain, they
Yes.
work in sun,
Indeed.
they work early morning, they
Indeed.
work late at night.
Yes.
And it says to me that the work ethic of a Tobagonian is one that could build this place.
course,
Because
of
if we
course.
could build that in 40 days,
course.
imagine if we had the money and the time and the
Yeah,
space
listen
and the
to me.
latitude to do
Listen.
all of the things that we
Yes,
want
Secretary,
to do.
I am convinced.
We can get it done.
Yes, there is a
And-
fear. There is a fear. There almost later, there's a fear in the mind, especially those south of us. I was talking to a guy and he said the minister for Tobago South. That's another
oh gosh.
conversation. But the point is, there's this fear that if you only allow these Tobagonians to get going,
Yeah.
that there is no way that you can stop them. You can't hold them
And-
back, because you see what has occurred in the what has happened in the
Yes.
last year and a
So-
half, and
so-
on, and here we are.
So the forces are arrayed against us.
Yes.
And
yes.
even though we know that they are arrayed against us, I think that has given us even more impetus
Of course,
to
of course,
keep shouldering on.
Of course.
And despite all of the challenges, despite all of
Yes.
the obstacles, despite all of the turbulence, both internal and external, because there's a lot of internal turbulence as well.
Indeed.
We face a number of obstacles within our divisions to
Yes.
get simple things done
Yes.
in the form of paid obstructionists, because
yes.
right, they get paid every month, but it's
Yes.
not to come to show up to do the job,
Yes.
but it's
Yes.
literally to find ways to slow us
I'm
down.
telling you, man. I'm
And
telling
we
you,
will
I'm
not
telling
be
you.
slowed down. We're not
Yes.
going to break the law, but we
No.
will not be
No.
slowed down. Because you know what we have on we side? We have youth on we side. That is
Yes.
one.
Yes.
And we have this singular focus. Because the focus is not to etch your name in history.
Right.
The legacy here is building a Tobago that our children
Right.
could inherit, that our great-grandchildren would be proud to say, my grandfather was a
Right,
part
right,
of that.
right,
To
right.
build a Tobago that they can now build upon,
Yes.
that we can look back on the last 21 years and call them sunken years, just like COVID. That we don't speak about them anymore because we're only looking ahead for progress. We're only looking ahead at what we need to do to get to the place we have to get to.
Yes.
And part of getting to that place is ensuring that all of Tobago, as many of us as possible, because we would not always agree
Yes.
on the methodology. We would
Right.
not always agree on who should be leading the charge. But the singular goal should be, we need to have a Tobago that is a self-actualized Tobago.
Right.
Yes?
Now we must put in that there's been divine intervention from the get-go.
Yes.
I have said it before, and I believe that what we're doing is a work of God. The kind of things that we've been through, there's been divine help for us to get to where we get to. Now, Secretary, we've ventilated a myriad of issues. Time has gone and so on. We have maybe about a minute and a half,
Right.
even a minute. So I wanted to look into that camera over
Yes.
there and invite every single Tomigonian to this great event that's
Yes.
taking place this Sunday, the time and everything. That's your camera over there.
So on Sunday, 13th of August at the Milford Road lay-by, that is the proper name for it, but
Yes.
it's known as the Stage in the
Stage in the
Sea.
Sea.
We are making our stand as Tobagonians.
Mhm.
And we are inviting everybody who loves Tobago, because that is your only, that is all you need to become a part of this movement, that you must have this singular love for Tobago. And you're willing to join with other persons who love Tobago to ensure that Tobago benefits to the fullest. We'll be launching the Tobago People's Party.
Yes.
It is a party for the people,
Yes.
by the people of Tobago, of the people of Tobago, created by the people of Tobago. And it is going to be an awakening of consciousness that is
Yes.
required at this time, because the fight is real. 16 persons in an executive cannot fight against all the forces that are arrayed against us. We need a strong party. We need strong people. We need persons in communities to come out and support. So contact your area representative. Make sure that you say to them, look, I love Tobago. I
Yes.
want to be there on Sunday. We start promptly at 5 p.m. on Sunday. We're asking persons to wear sky blue. Sky blue is the color.
Yes,
It is
ma'am.
a pure color. It represents the heavens. It represents the heavenly presence that is required to
Talk
take
the
this
things,
island
man.
forward.
Yes.
We're asking you to wear sky blue or white, because white is the symbol of purity. And we have to banish all the darkness. I mean,
Yes.
the work of the bullifay is over. So now the white and the blue shows us clear skies ahead, clear
Yes,
skies in terms of where we have to go as a Tobago people. So we're asking you to come out in your numbers, bring your kids, bring your young persons, because young persons have to get into the
Sure,
fight. We are
sure.
only here for a limited amount of time, and we have to have proper succession planning. We have to ensure that our young people are part of history, because they have to carry on the fight after us. So we're asking you to come out in your numbers to support us. You're going to be there present at the launch. Our Chief Secretary and interim political leader would be addressing the people of Tobago on that night, and that is something that we cannot miss. And we have a very dynamic lineup of speakers who will continue to advance the cause for autonomy and advance Tobago's cause for self-actualization. And all of this is with the intent that we have to achieve the mandate of making Tobago the greatest little island of the planet. And that cannot just be the work of an executive council. It cannot just be the work of 16 people. It has to be the work of every single person who loves Tobago, calls themselves a Tobagonian, who believes that Tobago deserves the best. We believe that Tobago deserves the best, and we will continue to give of our best to the people of Tobago. So we are looking forward to you coming out, and we want to see you out in your numbers on Sunday.
Well put it, man. Well put it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. We want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been a very informative, a very exciting and uplifting program in my view. We want to thank Secretary Boris for taking the time to be with us here. We are just very thankful. So God bless you. See you again next Thursday, God's willing, right here on Tobago Updates as we continue to have this conversation. Take care. Have a good night. We gone.